President Trump and Elon Musk have been on the outs for a little while. Just haven't been getting along. Nobody really knows why. However, they did reconnect at Charlie Kirk's funeral. What they said, we don't know because there's no sound. It's behind glass and the shot is from far away. I did take a couple of different angles and put them together for you so you get a better idea what's happening. But by the time we get finished with this, you're going to know exactly what's going on from a body language and behavior perspective. So let's take a look. There's an empty seat next to President Trump. He's talking to Dana White. Elon Musk sees the open seat and comes in to sit down. When President Trump sees him, he's a little bit surprised, but he immediately goes in for the handshake. This lets us know he's open to getting that relationship fixed. And he probably misses Elon because they hung around so much and got along so well. So as an opening, this is a pretty good sign that this relationship has a chance to be fixed or mended. When the handshake is over, President Trump immediately points over to Dana White. And I'm sure it was something like, "You remember Elon," something like that. They say hello and shake hands, and President Trump gives Elon a little pat on the knee, like, "Hey man, it's good to see you." It's one of those things guys do. And at the same time, it's one of those things fathers do to their sons. Now, Elon's father, I don't think they got along very well, so he may, in a way, see President Trump as a father figure. And since he's much younger than President Trump, I'm sure President Trump sees him as a son-type figure. Then Elon goes immediately to steepling, and he does that little diamond thing that President Trump does all the time. So automatically, right out of the gate, they're mirroring each other. If you'll remember, that's what happens when people like each other a lot or respect each other a lot. They'll mirror the other one's behavior. And they'll also start matching each other, which means they'll start using the same words or vernacular. They'll start using phrases the other one uses. That way they can get that flow going. It helps them get along better. People like them, and they like people that look like them and people that sound like them. That's why matching and mirroring is so important when you're trying to get along with someone or when you first meet someone. Then President Trump pulls his jacket closed a little bit and turns to Dana White and points to Elon. I'm sure he said, "Hey, something good about him," because that's what he wants to do. He wants Elon to know he's talking good about him and feels good about the situation. However, Elon shows us he's stressed. And how does he do that? By using adapters. Adapters are the things we use to get rid of that built-up stress and tension. What are the adapters he's showing? One of the classics. He rubs his hands on his legs, and then he tries to adjust his shoulder a little bit. Elon's posture is a little bit weird. He's sitting like he's a king or something. And he's probably nervous and waiting for President Trump to say something to him. And he does. It's probably a little bit loud in there because they're scooching so close together to talk and to listen to each other. And then when President Trump finishes talking, Elon does that huge head shake to let him know he's hearing him and or agrees with him. Then President Trump goes right back to the diamond with his steepling. These are all good signs for this relationship to be fixed. I've cut us to a different angle here because you can see this better. They're matching and mirroring. They're both leaned toward each other, and they're both doing the diamond steepling. Comparatively, President Trump's moving a little more smoothly than Elon is. And in this situation, Elon should be the nervous one because he's the one that approached President Trump. And President Trump could have ignored him. He could have said something mean. There's a lot of stuff that could happen there, and he knew that going in. That's probably why his stress is so high. And that's a lot of head nodding and head shaking yes to show agreement between the both of them. So as things progress, it still looks good for this relationship to be fixed. Now check out Dana White. He's over there listening, but at the same time, he's a little stressed too because he knows what a big deal this is. And apparently President Trump is relaying what Elon said to Dana because he starts talking to Dana and then throws his thumb over there like this is what he said. And in a situation like this, when someone shares the information you just gave them, that's a good sign. Then we see Elon kind of brace himself, puts his hand on his knee, and then he puts his hand on his hand. So he's still a bit stressed here and uncomfortable as well because he puts his hand up to his chin and then brings it right back down. He can't get comfortable yet. Then Dana says something to him and they talk back and forth a little bit. This is still an iffy situation for Dana because he doesn't know if this is going well or not. And now President Trump and Dana White are matching and mirroring each other. So it's another good sign that things are going forward and looking pretty good. Elon's still trying to get comfortable. He's got one hand on his knee, one hand on his leg. He just can't get in the pocket yet. And his posture's back in that odd-looking posture where he looks like a king sitting on a throne or something. He's probably not trying to do that. He probably didn't even realize he's doing it, but he's just nervous, I think. It's really tough introducing yourself into a situation like this, especially after you've had a big fuss with the person you're going to sit down to and start talking with. So I understand where he's coming from. You would too. I mean, it's really odd. It's an uncomfortable situation to be in for everybody there, but it needs to be done. And as adults, they understand that, and that's why it's happening. So they're trying to cope with it and make it work. Have you ever been in that situation where you're the only one clapping? I have. It's really uncomfortable. I'm sure his mind is racing because he's so stressed and he's really not sure what to do. But he knows he has to sit there and wait it out. And President Trump doesn't show any stress at all. He looks a little bit bored, but he's not showing us any cues of stress. If President Trump was stressed, there are specific cues that we would see because we're familiar with his baseline for having watched him all these years. When he's stressed, that jaw comes out a little bit. Quite often, he'll try to fix his shoulders and try to stretch his shoulders. His illustrators get kind of big, but his elbows stay really tight to his side. He backs up a little bit. His chin comes down. We see all kinds of things that let us know when he's stressed. And we're not seeing any of those here, not even one. Dana White looks like he may be stressed just a little bit because he's doing that thing with his mouth. So he looks like he understands what's happening there. And it's a little bit uncomfortable for him still. But overall, so far, everything's still looking good. Nobody looks angry. Nobody's showing those stress cues of trying to hold back anger. Nobody looks like they're talking loud. Nobody's frowning. We're not seeing any of that. So far, still, everything looks good. Now there's a flow to the conversation. When President Trump leans over and starts talking to Elon, they both go back and forth. And it's not one of those things where there's a long pause and somebody's real stiffened up and all stressed. Elon's been pretty stressed up to this point, but I think he's relaxing a little bit. He's still mirroring President Trump. You can see the steepling happening there. He's leaned forward. He's leaned toward President Trump. And they go back and forth with the conversation, and it's flowing. I know that sounds odd, but a lot of times when you see a stressful situation like this, one person will talk, there'll be a long pause, and the other person will talk really quickly, and the other person will pause, and then they'll talk a little bit slower, and then they'll speed up, and the other person slows down. It gets really odd, but this is a good flow here. And notice as well, they're not looking each other right in the eye. Quite often when you meet someone in person, you'll see like two men, for example, when they walk up to talk to each other, they're usually face to face like this. Hey, how's it going? They'll shake hands and then they'll turn at an angle to each other. The next time you meet someone, pay attention to this. Because when you walk up and shake that person's hand, you don't stand there face them like this the whole time. You kind of back up a little bit and you turn to the side. You can't help it because you don't feel aggressive toward that person and they probably don't feel aggressive toward you. So one of you or both of you will turn to the side a little bit. And that's totally normal. You're letting each other know you're not being aggressive toward the other one. In this situation, that's basically what we're seeing here. That's why they're not like face to face talking. If they're both sitting up straight, face to face, and then talking as fast back and forth as they are now, that wouldn't be good. But this is relaxed. They're getting along. Bank of America recently announced a data breach, and here's what's really disturbing about that. They didn't tell anybody about it for months. And on average, it takes a company about 277 days to report a breach. And your personal data could have been exposed months ago, and you're just now hearing about it. This isn't even the first breach the Bank of America has had this year. And last year, Citigroup and JP Morgan Chase both announced breaches. And your bank could be breached right now, and it could be months before you find out about it. Do you want to give a criminal a 9-month head start? No. That's why it's really important to be talking about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura alerts me if they find my phone number, email, or social security number on the dark web. And they're going to let me know fast if anybody tries to use that information to access my credit or bank accounts. And they give me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance if the worst case scenario happens. They also provide a bunch of other features that keep you safe online, all inside one app. And you can go to aura.com/Scott Rouse for a 14-day free trial. And that'll be enough time for Aura to find out if your personal data has been exposed. You'll learn about it long before any of these companies are forced to tell you about it. I highly recommend you do this right now because the only thing most of these companies are going to do to help you is offer you free credit monitoring. Free credit monitoring after the fact. And that's like installing security cameras after your house has been robbed. Look, I get it. There are so many data breaches, your social security number might as well be written on a bathroom wall. But if you haven't been a victim to fraud yet, then why are you still rolling the dice? If it's because protecting yourself feels overwhelming, let Aura do all the hard work for you. I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to these data breaches. And if you don't want to either, then you can go to aura.com/Scott Rouse for a 14-day free trial. I'll put that link in the description below. This is where President Trump lets Elon off the hook. In a situation like this, Elon probably doesn't know what to do. He's really stressed. President Trump could probably see that. So he says, hey, listen, man, as he's shaking his hand, thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it. It's good seeing you again. He may have said, get a hold of me. Let's do lunch or supper or whatever those kind of people do. I don't know. But Elon sees it as, this is my out. I'm out of here. Great. This went well. So then he gets up and leaves. From a body language and behavior perspective, this looks pretty good as far as mending that relationship. But let's listen to what President Trump says on the plane on the way back to Washington when someone asks him about that interaction.
Mr. President, everyone's saying that Charlie brought you and Elon back together. Is that true?
Well, Elon came over and said hello. No, it's nothing to do with that. I thought it was nice. He came over, we had a little conversation. We had a very good relationship, but it was nice that he came over. Dana White was there, the great Dana White.
The newswoman says, everybody's saying that Charlie brought you and Elon Musk back together again. Is that true?
And everyone's saying that Charlie brought you and Elon back together. Is that true?
When she asks that question, President Trump makes sure to say, no, this situation had nothing to do with us reconnecting. Then he talks about the relationship in the past tense.
We had a very good relationship.
We had a good relationship. Then to change the subject, he moves on to how Dana White was there.
But it was nice that he came over. Dana White was there, the great Dana White.
And that's fine because he's probably got to process all that happened. He's going to go home, talk to Melania, and she's going to say, what happened? What did he say? You know, that's going to happen. He'll probably say, well, Elon came over and we talked while everything looked pretty good. Everything went really well. Let's see what happens. That's what I think happened after that, which makes sense. So there you have it. Elon Musk and President Trump reconnecting. That's a famous relationship. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. Is he going to show up at the White House again? I don't know. Let me know what you think, for real. Let me know in the comments because I read every comment. And I really do want to know what you think about that. So if you have any questions about body language, just email me, bodylanguagequestions@gmail.com, and I'll get right on it.